Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. We'll just wait for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, inshallah, for people to be tuning in. In the meanwhile, I would actually request, which I forgot to request the panelists today and the guests, if you can please share the feed of the live stream as well. I did send you the public live streams. If that, though that can be shared, it would be great, inshallah. I'll do the same on my side, is to share the feeds once again, that inshallah most of the people can benefit. So I am going to do that now. Okay. Switch the phone off. Okay. So we'll wait for 10 more seconds, inshallah, and then we'll be making the start, inshallah. So guys, alhamdulillah, this is our 10th show. We've been, alhamdulillah, we started this journey something like 3 months back, and we've had a number of shows with a number of scholars, mashallah, around the globe, all the way from US to Australia to Canada to Pakistan and UK, etc., and to Saudi as well. And now, alhamdulillah, this month we have purely dedicated to having a discussion on the entrepreneurial spirit amongst the youth, amongst the Muslims at large. We're going to be having, inshallah, this panel today, which is probably, you can say, the most highly qualified panel, mashallah, which we have been able to have during the last 3 months. And then the next show is going to be basically a female panel. So next week is totally and purely going to be a female panel. The week after, we'll be looking at another aspect of entrepreneurship. And then the last show is purely going to be dedicated towards the educational side of entrepreneurship. So this is how we are going to be, inshallah, proceeding in the next, you can say, 4 weeks or so. So just a quick intro to the panelists for today, because mashallah, we've got a very well-rounded panel. I don't want to be wasting any time. So I think most of you have seen the adverts, mashallah. And those of you who haven't, I would request you to have a look at the banner, the scroll link, which is actually being pasted at the bottom of the live stream today. And you will be, you get to know the panel, because mashallah, this show today is just going to be touching the surface of what we're going to be discussing. Each and every panelist has tremendous amounts to contribute towards each and every one of you, whoever is going to be listening today. So go to their Facebook streams, go to their LinkedIn profiles, connect with them on a personal level, seek their advice, and inshallah, they will all be able to help you in a personal capacity later as well. So, Jazakallah khair once again to Dr. Shahid Qureshi, mashallah, who is the senior most in our panel today, to Brother Zeeshan. So Brother Zeeshan, I've requested him to switch off his video because he is having some bandwidth issues. And then Brother Kirk-Dale, which we lovingly call him KD. So we'll be calling him KD today, inshallah, okay? So like I said, go to their profiles. I don't want to be wasting any time for today's show because we've got a full a question bank to be discussing. So Dr. Shahid, Jazakallah khair for joining in. Entrepreneurship, how do we define it?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we define entrepreneurship in different ways, and I think it was an evolution which took place. We used to define it by the ability to do something, to be innovative and creative, to come up with value into which has some monetary thing. But eventually we found out that a lot of interesting things are going on. The mothers and the grandfathers and the scholars and the teachers and professors, they're doing interesting and amazing things. So eventually the term entrepreneurship, it says to pursue an opportunity, irrespective of the availability of resources. So that you don't depend, you're not bogged down with the resources, and you pursue that opportunity and resources follow you. So in the traditional management perspective and the MBA and the management, engineering management perspective, you do the other way around actually. You come up with a vision and a strategy, arrange resources, then proceed. So in entrepreneurship, we go the other way around. We start with something with our passion, with our hobby, with our skill, and and we try to create a value. So this definition is very interesting, and it has very interesting roots within our Islamic traditions, and that is all upside down, as our national poet in Pakistan, our Islamic poet Iqbal said, "अपनी दुनिया आप पैदा कर अगर जिंदों में है." If you are alive, then you create your own world. So you create your own destiny. So resources are they will come on the way actually. So I think the biggest difference between entrepreneurship and management is your obsession towards resources. Here, there's obsession towards creating value, and from Islamic perspective, we'll talk later. That is to create value which is environmentally, socially, and ethically sensitive. So creating something which is good for human beings, good for people, and it's not dependent on that much funding and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now, Dr. Zeeshan, in fact, if we come to you, then how would you actually define the various avenues of entrepreneurship which are available? Yani, if I rephrase my question, then how would you distinguish purely between, can we have, for example, a career, can we call entrepreneurship as a career? Is that a career, or is that something which is more kind of widely defined, as Dr. Shahid has?
Yes, definitely. Entrepreneurship can be a career, can be your part of your vision, can be part of your life, can be your life actually all together. One thing that entrepreneurship need is empathy. You need to be, you need to have a sensitive heart. You need to understand people's problem. You need to have a pain to solve it. If you can feel their problem and can solve it, that you are entrepreneur right there. So every Muslim is an entrepreneur by birth, I believe, and somehow we get lost in chasing the so-called success, in chasing the so-called corporate world and everything else, and that entrepreneurship DNA got missed from our life. So it can be a career, sure. Whatever we do, even for example, take the example of Pakistan, we do a lot of charity as well. So whatever you do, if you are even working as a career as a data scientist or a banker, whatnot, you go back and then you try to solve different problems. But if it is organized, if it is in a form of a company, then we can call it a startup. But we do entrepreneurship in our daily life every single day without realizing it.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. I think, Brother Zeeshan, you still have a bit of issues with your sound, so I would request if you can switch off everything else, please, and because it's creating a bandwidth issue with your voice, inshallah. So, Brother KD, now coming to you, inshallah. Mashallah, with your experience in management consulting and setting up of companies, what is your advice to the youth? How do they go about setting up businesses?
Well, I think, first of all, I just want to reiterate, I think the 2 points that were already made, because at the heart of entrepreneurship is really that empathy that Brother Zeeshan mentioned, that empathy of really understanding what the customer's need is at the heart of all of this, and focusing on that helps you define what it is you're actually trying to set up. Because a lot of the time, I think certainly some of the companies that I've been involved with and some of the entrepreneurs that I've worked with, they tend to sometimes lose focus on what it is they're actually doing. And they can sometimes begin to focus more on the how. And as Dr. Shahid said earlier on, focusing more on the resources rather than on the actual grand vision and what it is that they're trying to achieve. But in terms of those practicalities, that the how you go about setting things up, the avenues usually are funding things from friends, family, and fools. Getting funding from whatever sources you can around you. But I think we're actually in a unique time, because in these days, this may not apply, what I'm about to say may not apply to all kinds of entrepreneurship. So, for example, if you're working in medical, med tech, or regulatory tech solutions, this may not apply. But definitely a lot of digital technology entrepreneurship doesn't require the same amount of funding that it did, say 5, 10, 15 years ago. So today, a lot of those costs can be, variable costs. You can actually scale much more easily than you can previously. I think the biggest challenge that many of us face today is not so much how to get started or how to fund it, it's what to do. And really, I think the big focus that many of us face is that fundamental question: what's the problem that I'm trying to solve? And if you have clarity on that, then actually all the other things, I think, tend to fall into place quite easily.
Okay. So carrying on from this premise, which Katie has said, Dr. Shahid, is that how to know what exactly is the problem and how to skim through the issues of the society, as you mentioned earlier, the social and the economic and the ethical. How do you actually correlate that with entrepreneurship?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Once again, we seek wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so actually there are two ways of looking at things. So one way is that we look around and look at problems and opportunities and try to find out what can be done. So we use our lens and see what can be done and try to match. So that is called the search and select method. You search around, and then you try to find out what can be done. You look at opportunities. So this is the traditional way which is being taught in universities all across the globe. So this sometimes works as well. But there's another way, which is very natural and very organic. And unfortunately, very less attention has been given to that. And that is, you see, rather than you looking around in the externalities, that can work. I will not like to ignore that. The other thing is to look inside you, inside yourself, who you are, what you know, and whom you know. So look at your hobby, your passion, your skills, your competencies, and based on your affordable loss. Affordable loss means if I have $100, so I am willing to lose $10. So I still have $90. So based on, the first thing is called the bird in hand. Who you are, what you know, and whom you know is your bird in hand. Based on your bird in hand and your affordable loss, that is like 10, 15, 20% of your assets. Why don't you do a small experiment? Bake a cake, make a flower, do something. Do the smallest possible thing. Rather than the search and select method, which is being taught in the business schools, that requires a lot of money, a lot of planning, a lot of time. You just do a small experiment and keep on doing that experiments from your class 2, 3, and 4. Just keep on doing it every summer, every winter, every vacations. And out of those dozens of experiments, many will fail, but these failures will not be failures. These will be learnings. And eventually that will become an habit. And that will make you, that is the mindset thing, actually. So this process is so powerful that the failure rate is a line. You see, anybody who follows that process, he stuck to a good idea in few iterations at a very minimal loss. And that loss is not a loss. And that's in the mindset, actually. And that mindset makes you creative, innovative, humble. It makes you, the other mindset, the search and select, is very unfortunate. It makes you arrogant, actually, because you start looking at the best players. You start looking at Uber. You want to be Uber you want to be the top one in few months. So it works. I don't say it doesn't work, but the failure rate is very high in that model. That model is, the other model, we call it the beaver model, the honeybee model, the honeybee and the beaver model. And see, they always take a calculated risk. So these are two very contrasting things, but both of them can work. And generally, we encourage our young people to learn languages, do experiments, learn tools, keep on doing experiments during your teenagers. And the parents have to really focus. And that is my friend Zeeshan was talking. My friend, Professor Miles Davis in the US, is saying the careers have moved from we have moved from careers to jobs. and from jobs to tasks or the gigs. So we were living in a gig economy. And in the gig economy, this way of looking at the Weaver model or we call it the effectuation model. So I want to be quick and brief. So the other way, you need to know both, I would say.
Sure. So, Jazakallah khair for that. So, Brother Zeeshan, can we say that, as Dr. Shahid has said, can we say that money can be an objective? At what level do we have money as an objective in entrepreneurship?
Yes, so money can be an objective and money should be an objective. Money by itself is not a bad thing. You need to know where to spend that money. So, earn as much money as you want, but, you need to know that, where you are spending it. If you are spending it for your startup growth, for serving the community, for your country, for Muslim Ummah, you should earn as much as you can. It's not that, this world is for us to take. It's not for everyone else to take. And, we just go think about the hereafter. So we should be making money. The organization should make money to survive, should not exist to make money. And there is a difference between the two. So yeah, I'm all for money. You should make money.
Okay. And Katie, let's say again, I go back to the same thing that fine.
Yeah.
Based on your experience with the technology startups, for example, can you tell us how did you identify an issue which you felt can play a role in what you wanted to do, and how did you do it?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and I think that this is different for different people. I think one of the issues with entrepreneurship is trying to find kind of a formula for something that really can't be formulaic. So in my case, many of the things that I'm involved with at the moment, or even ideas from the past, have really come from some of the client experiences that I had. So the issues that came about, the experiences for me were from working with clients and extending on those ideas and then building on them and enhancing those ideas into businesses. So I think one aspect of this is it's very difficult to kind of formularize this. It's very difficult to say that that an entrepreneur follows a particular path. I think really what we ought to be doing here is kind of setting up general guidelines or the kind of the markers that define it, because I don't think defining an algorithm for this really works. And in my case, a lot of it came from the fact that I've spent most of my career in professional services. Some other people, they may come from an engineering background, and they may have stumbled onto a great business idea from a piece of engineering. Google is a great example of an engineering firm that created a business based out of engineering. And so I think it differs. Uber is an example, and Dr. Shahid, I take your point earlier. I don't want to hold these guys up necessarily as being kind of the goalpost, but these organizations are different. So Uber came about from a particular customer problem, and then addressing that particular customer problem. So I think that there is no single formula for this, and different entrepreneurs and different companies have their origins in different stories.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Dr. Shahid, is age and barrier to entrepreneurship? And if you can please also elaborate on, mashallah, the programs that you were discussing in the morning, which you've been kind of offering in IBA as well. If you can elaborate on that.
Great, mashallah. Thank you very much for a very relevant question. And this is what we have discovered, that age is not a barrier. It's actually just a mindset. And what has happened is, for the past 60, 70 years, our academic, the courses and the curriculum and the way we live in this part of the world, that has killed our, entrepreneurial propensity. Entrepreneurship, as Dr. Zeeshan was saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everybody as an individual which is full of creativity and innovation. We are a manifestation of the Qudrat and the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do unique things. We can't repeat anything. We can't do the same thing again. We don't have the same day. So everybody is a born entrepreneur. What happened was our engineering, our medical, our education made us think in a very structured way. And that structured way made us think that only family-based, family businesses and all these traditional entrepreneurs have the propensity to take risks. We were never told, we were not trained to do small experiments. So entrepreneurs are not risk takers. That's a myth. Entrepreneurs are calculated risk takers. They keep on experimenting with 5-10%. And depending upon your belief system, the more closer you go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your ability to take risk increases. So you are a continuous experimenter. So what we have found is that many people at 50, 60, 70, in the West it has been proven, and we see, and even in Pakistan now, alhamdulillah. So based on this methodology in 2012, one day we got a telephone call from the chief minister's daughter, and she said that, can you do something? You produce MBAs and BBAs, and you help people become rich. There are so many people in Sindh and Karachi, and can you do something and design a course? So alhamdulillah, based on this learning which we had learned from Darden, from Gujranwala and various experiments, we designed a like 50 to 100 hours course. And that 100-hour course, which is spread over like 3-4 months, we just make people understand that they are A graders. They are unique. They're a manifestation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're the qudrat. They're a symbol of the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not make B, C, D grade people. All of them are A graders. So they're unique in their thinking, in their writing, in their capabilities. Even their twins cannot be the same. So if you have this, if you start thinking like that, then this is what the concept of khudi comes in, of Iqbal. Khudi ko kar buland itna. And Iqbal says, khudi mein doob kar azm aur himmat walon ne. When obsessed with this knowledge that they are unique, and they are the one and only in this world, in this creation. And when Iqbal says that they can make a whole Pacific Ocean out of a small stream of water. So we use beaver videos and honeybee videos. We use this concept of effectuation. And alhamdulillah, after like spending 20-30 hours, none of them ask for $1. They start finding and discovering. You know what Iqbal said? Ek fakr hai jo sikhata hai miskini aur dilgiri. There is a form of poverty which makes you a beggar. And he says, there's a form of poverty, ek fakr hai, jo sikhata hai jahan wani. There's a form of poverty which makes Abu Huraira. And they have a single date, but they're ruling the whole continents. So poverty is not a problem, it's the mindset problem. So we don't know who we are. If we know who we are and who the creator is, and that defines Islamic entrepreneurship. One of my American colleagues, Miles Davis, his research is on Islamic entrepreneurship. He's a Muslim now, alhamdulillah. And he says, and he came to Pakistan and we went to lunch and a person asked, is there Hindu entrepreneurship? Is there Christian entrepreneurship? He said, yes. There's a difference between Islamic entrepreneurship and Hindu and the belief system. That is the belief system. And what is the belief system? That in Islamic entrepreneurship, everything is an amanat. Amanat ko English mein kya kahenge? It's a
Trust.
It's a trust. All your money and resources are a trust given to you by God. And the purpose is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's way is the way to proceed. So, and you have to help humanity. So the making of less money or more money is not a question here. You have to do these things. You make less money, more money, doesn't matter. Keep on going. And if you hear Hindu entrepreneurs, Jewish entrepreneurs, Miles Davis said that you don't treat people equally. In Islamic entrepreneurship, you have to be equal to every human being on this world. So you see, I forgot the original question maybe, but this is, I think, we tried to emulate this experiment at IBA, and alhamdulillah, we have an online course which is available across the globe, 50 hours online in Urdu and in English, and irrespective of race, religion, color, and age, we don't believe in any barriers, D grades, C grades. I salute them. If you come to our center, so alhamdulillah, this is a small effort we have made. IB has subsidized it, and I'm thankful to my friends like Zeeshan and others who keep on encouraging us and motivating us. And we keep on listening every day. We dare listen. Class 10 dropout making $1,000. So we're not made millionaires, Kirk-Dale up till yet. We've not made $1 million companies, but we have made $10,000, $5,000. And I believe anybody who can make that, he can inshallah go further. And money making is only a journey, and to be contributive, to be so, and humility. Abu Fatima Saab, I think that this model brings humility with that. One of my seniors at Harvard, they have written an article. Entrepreneurs feel closer to God. Look at this. Entrepreneurs feel closer to God because when they work in the unknowns and the uncertainties, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Those people who trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make taqwa, He creates opportunities for them. So I don't want to prolong, but this is a quick feeling that it's just a matter of hours, 30 to 50 hours. Entrepreneurship was there. It was there, and we just, there was some dust, it became dusty. We just have to reconfigure. And it can happen anywhere, anytime, any religion, any color. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair. So, guys, those of you who have just joined, there's an IBA program on entrepreneurship, which people of any age can join. Please go to the website and have a look. Now, Dr. Zeeshan, coming to you, and the discussion is going to be, going into a little bit of technical areas now. So, can you please define blockchain for us, and probably I'll ask KD to define AI for us and machine learning. And then, because I want to actually have a kind of a 3-4 minute discussion on these two important subjects. I understand your perspective, Dr. Zeeshan, as to how do you feel the world is going to be heading in which direction. So maybe that's a longer discussion, but if you can define blockchain for us and how people can make blockchain as, I won't say a career, but what are the entrepreneurship possibilities, or even a career, if you want to say that, as a freelancer, for example.
So the world is going towards emerging technologies. We can sum up emerging technologies into 6 basic streams. That would be data sciences, blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, DevOps, and digital marketing. So the people who are engaged with emerging technologies have more chance of jobs, career prospects, and everything, versus people who are not connected. With AI and RPA is killing the jobs on in an unbelievable level. So blockchain is opposite of the centralized system. In centralized system, we have a third party we need to trust. In blockchain, there is no centralized; it's all distributed. So it's a distributed ledger where we generate the consensus from the crowd using different algorithms. It could be BFT, it could be anything else. So the reason is we should be, if I want to give the money, I should be able to give it to you without needing of a third party who would come and witness for this transaction. So it has the inherent advantage of transparency. It has the inherent advantage of security. It has the cryptography, so it's kind of unhackable almost. So these are the advantages, and this is where the world is going. So if you put anything, so think of blockchain as AI. You can plug in blockchain with any kind of business that you are doing. It is hospital management system or HR systems or the national census, population census, I believe, is due in USA this year and in Saudi Arabia as well. So if it is available, so anybody can access it. Just think about the benefit. For example, an NGO goes and give a charity to a particular person. Now another NGO goes and give the charity to this person. They do not share the data. But if everything is available on a blockchain, everybody would know how much money has been given to this particular person, what's this particular organization or a place, and then everybody can share this data securely in a secure fashion, and it's not controlled by any government or autocrat, and it's not being biased towards anybody or any minority. For example, in last population census in Pakistan, we missed close to 3 million people in Karachi. In last US census, we were missing 7 million African American as well. So you would not marginalize communities. So that's pure advantage of blockchain.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Kerry, if you can come to the second part of the first question, is to speak a little bit about AI, and then speak about kind of the opportunities in this domain, blockchain as well as AI.
So first of all, I think it's important to draw a distinction between where technology has always been and where it's heading. So think about most of our past, the past 50 years, we have programmed computers in order to address specific problems. If you really go all the way back to Turing and the origin of modern computer science, a computer is a generalized machine for solving problems. Before that, you had machines that solve specific problems, but the modern computer is a generalized problem-solving machine that can solve new problems that we program it to solve. Now, artificial intelligence really takes that to the next level, because we often, when we look at many points of data or around decision making, we have incomplete information. And what artificial intelligence really is, the core of it is that it uses advanced mathematics. It uses computational power, a lot of computational power, in order to infer what's going on with an underlying data set, in order to and thereby in order to make decisions. So examples of this would be around things like optical character recognition. Something, an algorithm that can tell the difference between a T and an I. And if anyone's read my handwriting, there's very little difference between the T and an I. But the machine looks at the positioning of the ink or the pixels, and it makes a calculated guess as to what the data means. And I think one of the challenges, if you don't mind, I'll first talk about one of the challenges. I used to work with IBM, and one of the challenges that I think many of our IBM's clients underestimated was the extent of the overhead required in order to help the computer understand that context, the context of the data. So really, what AI is a platform that allows you to take a generalized learning model, and the various techniques like reinforced learning that help the machine to become better and better at predicting the difference between letters, between the I and the T or whatever it is, based upon exposing it to lots of data. And one of the issues I think with AI has been the extent to which many people didn't realize the amount of effort required in order to do that. Now, with respect to blockchain, I think in a similar way, I think there's been a lot of hype around it. And I think it's a thoroughly misunderstood technology, because really, in order to make sense of blockchain, you have to look at it from a customer viewpoint and reverse engineer the technology. Because a lot of the time we talk about distributed technologies, and certainly from my previous career, the difficulty in making a business case for blockchain, it's actually quite difficult, because some clients would say, what's the difference between this and a permission database? And on the surface of it, there's absolutely no difference. But there are cultural, regulatory, and societal reasons why there are differences, and those are harder to define. Now, in terms of where the opportunities are, the way that I would look at these two technologies, and indeed all the technologies that Zeeshan mentioned, the way that I would look at these is that they view these as enabling technologies for an idea that you have. So whether it's Google or IBM or whoever it is, all of these APIs, all of this code is available there. There's tons of AI machine learning code available on GitHub and various places for you to access. What's the difficult part is not really the technology. The difficult part is knowing what's the problem that we're trying to solve, and going back to what Dr. Shahid said at the start of the talk.
Okay, that's great. Now, Dr. Shahid, coming back to you, you did mention about helping certain startups actually become kind of $10,000, $15,000 companies. Now, can you talk a little bit about, for example, with specific reference to that help, what is the help which is available for people from your organization or otherwise within Pakistan, where people can actually incubate ideas?
Great, mashallah. Ji. Thank you very much. Ji. I think so. I think the real challenge what we have discovered is in entrepreneurship is the mindset thing. So because our bird in hand theory and even our from Islamic point of view, every human being is rich, and every human being which has been created by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, he has been bestowed with relatives, father, family, uncles, maternal, paternal. So that is a whole package around you. So from our, we are a billionaire. Everyone is a billionaire in terms of. So from that perspective, our contribution and is to change that mindset. And once you start knowing who you are and who you know and whom you know, and you start developing that, if you give that orientation, so you see while you are at school, at college, at university, you can develop your bird in hand. So you're not going to college for numbers and grades only. You're going this to meet people, to talk to people, to know about them, their tastes, their preferences. Then so you that's a continuous learning process every day, which is multiplying by heaps and bounds. So that itself, that platform, any platform which can help you think like that, that is needed actually. So within that process, you will know that, oh, then you start loving an idea or a passion or a skill or competency. And this is what we say that during these formative years, every young man or girl should know 4 or 5 languages, local languages, international languages, German, French, Spanish. This is your bird in hand. Any foreign language, any local language is your bird in hand. And you should know your own family, your maternal and paternals. You should know your school network, your college network. You should be doing, you see, you should be maybe raising pets at home, writing small programs, and looking at small YouTube videos. So these are helping your dad or mom. So these are all that mindset makes you start doing that. And during that process, and this is what's happening in US actually, the companies which are emerging in Silicon Valley, they're not a snapshot balance sheet thing. It's a process which started in class 3, 4, and 5. I was raised in the US. I used to sell newspapers in class 4. My mother was doing babysitting. And you see, in 1800 and 1700, this is what in every Muslim house in the world, these young men and women and kids were doing some activity. They were robust, they were resilient, raising cows and goats and buffaloes and carpentry and wood. Every Muslim family was able to sustain on their own. So this is what is needed in Germany. So this is what we say that we have various incubation. At IBA, we provided incubation for IT companies. But agriculture things, we said go out and find your uncles and dadas and fathers and do something within. So you make your own incubation. So and then we have virtual incubation and then the incubation is just a means actually. You can create your own world wherever you are, and I think the boundaries have collapsed actually. The course which we are offering people from Fiji and Europe and South Africa, Zambia, Nairobi and Kenya, it's all over. So you see, you need to find a garage in your house. You need to find old cable from your grandpa, grandma, and you should have the ability to smile and hug your grandma and grandpa and find an old bicycle and get the tire punctured. And that's it. Here you are up and running. So you see, that's why Iqbal said, "Apni duniya aap paida kar agar zindon mein hai, sarre Adam hai." Iqbal says the secret of human beings is what is the secret of human beings? How we are different than birds and animals. Sarre Adam hai, zamire kun faka hai zindagi. The secret of human being is that they, when they have an intention and they start taking actions, the kudrat of kun fayakun start happening for them. Whatever they think and they act, that becomes an act of God, Allah Subhanahu. So you see, we need to understand that we are not a C-grade person. We are a special creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and we are here to make a difference. We are here to do something before we die. And Iqbal, once again, Iqbal says, "Ye kainat abhi na tamam hai shayad." This universe is not complete yet. आ रही है दमादम सदाए कुन फयकून. The sound of kun fayakun is continuously emerging, and that kun fayakun is going to happen through the hands of Abu Fatma Nokhez and Kirk and Zeeshan through their activities and actions. So Allah is with them, and when you have a belief, then that is called Islamic entrepreneurship. So
Yeah.
we say har ghar se Mehman niklega. Mehman is a manifestation of entrepreneurship in Pakistan, and we say making enough money out of nothing. Mehman, making enough money out of nothing. So you see, we believe in Allah. So it doesn't mean that it's just a virtual meaning. Money will follow you. We will need millions. We need Zishan. If I make Zishan a friend, so he will put a lot of money in my venture, inshallah. So,
Inshallah.
ji.
Yeah, Katie, that was a joke. Mayman is a caste in Pakistan and India and Africa, which is actually renowned in making money. So that was, yeah. Okay, so Dr. Zeeshan, now coming to you. Basically, when we speak about, let's say, blockchain and AI, as you've mentioned before, and Katie has explained to an extent, what are the training opportunities which are available, which you are aware, which you can make the people and the audience aware of? Where do they go? Where do they search for training courses, qualifications, etc.? You're on mute, Dr. Zeeshan. Dr. Zeeshan, you're on mute. You have to unmute. Katie, can you take this question, please? Dr. Zeeshan, when he's...
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think that there are various, technically, I think there are various places you can look. I think GitHub is a great place to look. There are Udemy, Coursera, and all of these places have short courses that you can take online on various topics with respect to AI and blockchain. I think to be frank, though, I think the most useful thing in all of this, and I think it was touched on by both Zeeshan and Dr. Shahid, is empathy and being able to put yourself in your end stakeholders or your end customers' point of view. So one of the things that may be quite interesting for some of the folks on this call is to look at design thinking and techniques for building ideas around a customer value proposition, and starting from that point rather than necessarily jumping into the technology too soon.
Okay, sorry, Katie, you're speaking about maybe just a couple of courses. I'm just trying to get Dr. Zeeshan back.
Sure.
Are you aware of any kind of online courses which are available, apart from these websites which you've mentioned, which are for free or which are paid courses as well?
For free, I know that IBM offers a design thinking introduction course for free. So that may be something that you can sign up for and do the get initial exposure to. I think that in terms of other free resources, I'm not really sure, but I know that there are several things on Udemy and Coursera in these areas.
Okay, I'm aware of actually one website for the people actually in Pakistan as well as the Middle East, which is called alnafe.com. Dr. Shahid might have heard about that as well. So it is actually run by a kind of a group of very good brothers, and Dr. Zeeshan also is a part of it. In fact, it is one of the most, you can say, economical places. In fact, Dr. Zeeshan has joined. So Dr. Zeeshan, in fact, if you can speak about the training opportunities in blockchain and AI, I was speaking about Al-Nafi on your behalf. If you can elaborate on that, please, a little bit.
Al-Nafi is a platform where I teach all of the technologies. So I have a course on blockchain, very comprehensive course. It's available in 13 languages. So you can take the course in English, in Arabic, in Swahili, Telugu, Hindi, Malay, Mandarin, French, Arab. Also, book on Arabic is available on Arabic as well. On Amazon Kindle, it's available in English as well. A course AI is comprehensive with like 3 their information on AI, and goes with a book on AI as well. That's available in Pakistan and Urdu as well. And I'm working on the English as well. Then of course on cybersecurity, Dr. Shahid Qureshi course is coming on entrepreneurs. So right now we have courses that you can take for like $14 a year membership fees. That's one. There are other sites as well, in courses, PDs from Coursera, from Pluralsight, Udemy. You know, a lot of free resources available in the world.
Sorry, Dr. Zeeshan, your voice unfortunately is not clear. So, like I think you messaged me that maybe you're not able to get this better. So, I seriously think that it's, either please have a look at your voice, or, we'll have to run the show maybe with the rest of the guests, inshallah. Okay, so now coming back to you, Dr. Shahid, inshallah. Now, how do we develop teams in entrepreneurship? The biggest challenge a number of times is development of teams. So, for example, sometimes, let's say I might have the financial resources, but my next door neighbor, he has the skill set. So how do we actually develop teams, not only from an angle of actually having the capitalist person, or the person who's bringing the capital, and the other person bringing the skill set, but the people who are going to be working underneath them? What is your philosophy of development of teams?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So once again, we think this is many approaches, but this approach of getting people on board who have a lot of money with you, that creates a lot of problem, because if the mindset is not the same and the vision is not the same, and the people have not been through the entrepreneurial journey, they can't appreciate the hard work put by the original founders. So generally there's a rift which takes place. The people who have a lot of money, they want more stakes, and the people who have the idea, they want more stakes. That rift goes on, and that leads to a lot of problems. So on the other hand, in the effectuation, on the other model, which is organic, we say that let's do. Why are we in a hurry? Don't be in a hurry. Don't try to scale that fast. If in some cases you have to scale very fast, but we have certain solutions for them. So let's take the other case first. We say that you need to reflect on your bird in hand, who you are, what you know, and whom you know, and your affordable loss. So during the startup phase, you need to discuss this idea and discuss your product and service with your friends and family, and then you will find some strangers who might become your friends on this journey. They can be your customers, your suppliers, and distributors. So depending upon your why in your life, and depending upon your entrepreneurial journey, many people will be interested. This is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made human beings. There will be people which will start identifying commonalities in terms of vision, passion, or some skill, some complementary things. So that is called self-selected partners. We call that self-selected partners. And you see, and the common thing will make them jump in, and that commonality will be so strong that you see that friction will come down a lot. So that will be an organic testing of team players. Some will go in and go out, and that natural process will help you find the real ones which can go along with you. So this process, this journey in itself, talking to, we call it effectual ask. You keep on asking. You should have the ability. This is an art. Hello, day, Kirk. Can I borrow your truck for? I will take care. He's my neighbor. So rather than buying a truck, and let me ask something in a very interesting way. What will make you allow me to borrow your truck, Kirk? So we ask interesting. There's a certain way of asking questions, which invokes interests of other people. And during this process, some people might feel, and they feel this is what's happening. Actually, it's happening, and we face so many surprises out of the box. Sometimes it can be your wife, your son, your daughter, your neighborhood. your uncle, your class fellow, your teacher, your professor, and those complementary skills coming in. And there are various forms of partners, advisors, sleeping partners. So, but we have to make sure that the why is common. If the why is not common, then the problem will keep on coming. So this natural process of asking questions and showing and discussing with with the people you meet, alhamdulillah, that becomes organic, and that becomes your natural partners evolve, rather than you going and selling, doing a 3-minute sales pitch in a business plan competition, and the angel investor sitting. So in 3 minutes you don't know each other. In our model, you know each other, you sleep, eat, and breathe for many hours, they discuss. So you give time, like 1 month or 2 months. So they have a time to see and reflect on who you are. So those are more, English mein paidar hote hain. These relationships are more reliable, more stable. And there's so many ways they can find a customer for you. This is the partnership. Somebody finds, gives you a good idea and says, hey, don't do this, do this way. That is your advisor. This is also a partner. So there are hundreds of ways of partnerships, not only financial partnerships. So we have to value those partnerships as well. And when all of them combine, you have a very big team. And in our model, we don't compete that much. So we have very less competition. So we have collaborators. This is our fourth principle of effectuation. Rather than competition, let's ta'awanu 'alal birri wat taqwa. So we are creating a blue ocean. We are not creating a smaller pie. We are making, so the perspective changes a lot.
Jazakumullah khair, mashallah, very wisely put. Now, continuing on the same theme of actually selection of partners, Katie. Now, obviously, each and every field has different, for example, if you are going to be partnering in a manufacturing company, then the depth and breadth of the teams is going to be different than, for example, if you're going to be creating an e-commerce company, for example. Obviously, changes from industry to industry, etc. One of the key questions which normally people ask is that, I don't want to trust my partner, or, how do I trust? In fact, the right question would be that, how do I trust my partner? As Dr. Shahid has mentioned, that, there has to be a relationship, and there needs to be a discussion, and there needs to be an evaluation of each other. And then the highest value chain is the collaboration. If we are thinking about the collaborative effort, then obviously it becomes a major it becomes at the highest level of the pyramid, rather than saying that we are partners. So in your experience working in corporates mainly, obviously you've worked in a partnership as well. So, Yani, what is that? How do you define trust, and how do you cater for this issue, which normally actually comes between the partners? What do you do about it? How do you go about it?
First of all, mashallah, I think Dr. Shahid has actually really answered this question already. I think the depth of his answer really covers much of this. But the way to look at partnerships is that it should be viewed as not something limited to this particular business. It should be viewed as something much wider than that. You have to be able to you have to share the common why, you have to share the common vision, you have to share common ethics, and really, it amazes me that nothing is actually more important than your morals and your ethics in business and in life. And I think that's something that a lot of us often forget in the midst of trying to do business and trying to make money, or trying to be successful. You can't short circuit the system. There are rules to this universe, and your morals and your success, I think, is driven a lot by your reputation, and the way that you treat people, and the values that you have. So as a company, if you view a company as an organism, that this kind of the combination of you and your partners, if that organism is at odds with itself, that organism is never going to be successful. It's just going to be, there's going to be fighting internally. So in terms of defining trust, that's quite a nebulous thing to do, because people have different views of different values, even within within the Muslim communities, people have different values. But really, trust in this context is about how we collectively can work together in order to achieve that why, and the amount of, or the extent of, the correlation between you and your partners. But there are a couple of other things as well that I think are important. I think it's also important to having identified who your partners are, to have an organizational strategy. And a strategy is a grand word, but to have an organizational vision that builds out of that. So your relationships, with your partners, your core values in yourself, all of these things have to be aligned with what it is that your organization is actually trying to do, and then you have to live it in terms of everything that that the business does. If you talk about putting the customer first, you actually do have to put the customer first. If you talk about having ethics in the way that you handle your financials, you actually do have to be ethical. Many companies say one thing and do another, and it gets caught out sooner or later. So I think we need to have that congruence between all of these things. And I think just one more thing, I think it's also important that you have, for not just partners but for investors, that you have a very clear view of what their exit is, because often people, friends and family will give you money, and if you're going to have to give money back to them at some point, or the expectation is that you have to give money back to them, they need to understand that there's risk and be clear on that, and also you need to realize that you have an obligation to help them exit. Maybe you're going to sell to another investor and help them exit, but you need to have transparency with your partners so that you're all aligned. And you need to have that level of transparency with your investors, exactly as you would if you were a big listed company, probably more so, because it's your family's and your friends' money.
Correct. Okay, that's great. Now, inshallah, we'll be starting on the audience questions and answers. And like I said, that I want to actually devote a bit of time today to the audience questions and answers. So, Dr. Shahid, now the first question is coming on screen now. You should be able to, inshallah, see the question. So if you can please answer this, please.
Is it okay to do work job in young age? So if I understand once again, people doing work for money in young age were selfish, as they count everything with money and so I don't know whether I'll be able to understand, but I think in entrepreneurship, brother Abu Fatima, we think that we need to spend a considerable amount of time developing some skills and competence. Entrepreneurship is not about magic. It's not. You really need to have some tangible skills with you, and in many cases, it takes years to develop, 5, 6, 7 years, even after in engineering.
Your mic, I think your mic has moved. If you can please settle your mic.
Hello, can you listen?
We can listen, but your voice is kind of. It seems your mic settings have, or the mic has moved or something. I don't know.
Okay, hello. Is it okay
it's
now?
Okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So shall I repeat? Okay.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So so our point of view is that in entrepreneurship, skills and competencies are very important. And to gain those skills and competencies, it's good to do a job somewhere. It's a mix. There is no one recipe. Generally, what my American friends are saying and my literature is saying that we recommend people to spend like 5, 6, 7 years working for somebody. And if you start early, then that you can cover that journey pretty easily. There are some exceptions. Exceptions come in the IT field, in programming and the IT technology. Here, because you can start from very small, very less money. But even heavy in like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, some other areas where you need to know a lot of skill or competency. So we recommend to go for it. This is what I understood from the question, that shall we go for jobs or not? And selfish, I don't know about that. You see, people, it's a necessity. You see, one of our elders say that blood is a necessity for my body, but blood is not the purpose of my life. So money is a necessity, but money is not the purpose of my life. So entrepreneurship is a way of life. If you're adding creative, innovative, and helping others and making money, then I think alhamdulillah, that will be inshallah.
Yeah, I think we will start with the second question with KD now. Audience, can you please just confirm that you're able to hear every one of us correctly? Because Dr. Shahid's voice again is there's an issue today with the stream, or I don't know. So KD, the second question for you is coming up now.
Okay, Salam, how do you get out of a job mindset? For me, it seems I'm missing something even after a successful freelance business during my graduations. Getting out of a job mindset. I don't think that there is a job mindset, and I don't think that there's an entrepreneurial mindset. I think that the way to look at it is that you should look at yourself as being a company almost. You have customers, you have responsibilities, you have partners, you have employees. You know, the way to look at it is that you as an individual should be putting your others first and understanding the needs of others. And if you focus on that, even whether you're working for someone else or working for yourself, I think that would help you be, you know, that will help you be more successful. I think that there's a tendency for people that are in work to think of it as being a 9-to-5 commitment. But I think, Dr. Shahid, you mentioned earlier about trust. Even in this capacity of working for someone else, you have an amana upon you, and there's trust upon you. You have the interest of your employer. You have the interest of your employer's customers. And I think if you learn those skills whilst you're working for someone else, that will give you the right foundation if you're going to attempt to do something for yourself. It's not just a case of having your name on the door. It's much more of a personal thing than that.
Okay, I hope, inshallah, the questioner has got the answer. Now, Dr. Shahid, this question is for you, please. That you've been talking about the students and people in young ages, that's good, but what about people doing jobs, have responsibilities, how do they start?
Okay, mashallah. So my humble suggestion is that all those people who have a job, please respect that, and try to bring innovation and creativity and do something good for your owners or your company. And when you have free time, out of your free time on weekends and late evenings or vacations, to keep on doing it. Take a calculated risk. Why are you in a hurry? Entrepreneurship is not a miracle, it's not magic. So you keep on doing experiments for 2-3 years, then you spare time. Start meeting people, learn some new skills, learn complementary skills, and start doing smaller things on weekends. Engage your wife, engage your kids, your family members, and keep on growing. So you see, a banker came to me, he did our course, and he said he wants to quit. He said, "Don't quit, sir. You said do calculate your affordable loss. Remember, affordable loss principle. Affordable loss principle means that you should only spend as much time, money, and effort as you can afford to lose. And Islam doesn't encourage that to jump in the car. We should do something in a calculated way, because the calculated risk is recommended, not jumping in the car. So what he did was, that banker, he on his weekends, he said, I am not a network, and I can sell air tickets to my friends. He did a air ticketing course, and he started doing this on Friday and Saturdays and Sundays. And after 1 year of Fatma Sahab, he developed such a network. He was so comfortable that
Sorry, Dr. Shahid. Can you, if you're using an external mic, can you unplug the mic and put it back, please? Because honestly, we can't make.
You can't hear, sir?
No, we can, but your voice goes away somehow. I think your mic, either the wire, there's something wrong with the wire, or there is something. If you can unplug the wire and replug it, inshallah, that would be very helpful.
Hello, can you hear now?
Yeah, it's perfect now. Yes.
Oh, great. So So my request, my story was that a person who's an MBA and a banker who came to us, he wanted to live in Kuwait, but we said, gentlemen, take a calculated risk, look at your bird in hand, what you can do in your spare time, what you have, do something which you can afford to lose. So he had like 8-10 hours a week, like $200. He did a small course on air ticketing. He had his network. He started selling them tickets at no profit. He developed a brand, and after 1 year, he switched over. So you see, we to our people who are, and then he had land at Sakha. He started agriculture entrepreneurship. So you see, we need to have portfolios of smaller things. Your wife, your spouse, your kids. This is not materialistic actually. Our kids and have wives, and everybody should know how to do small things. They should be created. So those friends who are doing a job, please stick to your jobs and do some and double your productivity in your jobs. A Mormon and a Muslim is you see, he's not a procrastinator. He would like to dribble double to his owner. And when you do double to your owner, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do something for you. He will enhance your skill, your competency. He will that is also entrepreneurship. So you see, Ali Raziallah Ta'ala was working for a Jew. So it means then I quit my job from IB as well. So if it doesn't mean that working for IB is an entrepreneurship. Working for KPMG is entrepreneurship. If you are innovative, creative, and resource parsimonious, and if you're adding value and you're doing something much more than your salary, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do something for you, man. Keep on developing your small skills. So this is my message, that we should value our jobs. Don't undermine them. Don't be unthankful, ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even a mother, you see, Abu Fatima, you see a mother. My mother was raising 5 kids. She was doing babysitting. She was doing knitting in US and helping my dad do his PhD. And she was ensuring that our kids, they were learning Surah Waqia, Surah Kahf, learning Urdu. Is this not entrepreneurship? This is a mother of entrepreneurship. Ummul entrepreneurship. Rayadatul Amal. Rayadatul Amal. So you don't try to, you see, that is also entrepreneurial mindset. So our perspective is much more than just making money from a new venture. That is only a sub part, I think. Let's look beyond, and they're selling and making. One of our students in Jeddah, Sumaira, she bought a cake. She bought a cake for her birthday, and she found the cake was not good. She said, hey, what to do? She went to YouTube. She spent like 10 real and got some ingredients and made 4 or 5 iterations, and the cake turned out to be good after 5th, 6th iteration. And she sent it to the neighbors, and they said, hey, wow, Sumaira, you did a great job. Can you bake one for our kid's birthday? And she did it. 30-40 people came, Abu Fatima in Jeddah, and you know what they said? Where did you get it, ma'am? Can you make it for us? And that was the beginning of a journey. She makes $10,000 a month in Karachi now. She did a 3-day course in Dubai, fountain cakes. She brought a 3D printer. No MBA, no BBA. Her husband couldn't find a job. The husband is working for the wife. And you see the father-in-law is saying, hey, I have a separate kitchen. Use this. I am your partner. This kitchen is free for you. The husband is doing marketing and accounting. And alhamdulillah, they have their own outlet in Walir, Kent. So this story, the Hajira story, the Khadija story, she didn't go to a business school. She didn't take a business planning course. She didn't go to an incubator. हर घर से मेमन निकलेगा, हर घर से चिन्योटी निकलेगा, हर घर से मोमिन निकलेगा. तो हम तो मोमिन will coming out of every house. So this mindset of service, doing small things.
Great.
Doing small
Great
things.
message. Yeah. Katie, now this is the next question for you.
Okay, how is entrepreneurship similar or different from a business? So I take it that the question means, how is it similar or different from working for someone?
No, to be honest, if I can request the questioner to kind of make it more clear.
Maybe I can just ask, because we
Yeah,
keep
if you
on,
can add, yeah.
we keep on facing this question, because many people say that a ready or a bookshop is not entrepreneurship. So, my dear friends,
okay.
every transaction is entrepreneurship, but
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, if there is more innovation, more creativity, less money involved, and more parsimony involved, then we say it's more entrepreneurial. So it's just a matter of degree. Every transaction ready, every small thing, a cart, we call it entrepreneurship. We don't. You're doing social service. You're helping people to do doing helping people in a certain way. That's social entrepreneurship. But the degree of innovation and degree of creativity and parsimonies can make it less or more, and that too depends on the people who look at it. So don't worry about that. You just worry about doing something.
No. I think this question from Rana Shahid has already been answered. Maybe if any of the panelists want to add something, I will just say that we have mentioned the websites like Udemy, we have mentioned annafe.com, we have mentioned other resources, IBM resources, YouTube resources. In fact, I was looking at one YouTube video even this morning, something like a 10-hour course on machine learning, for example. But there are certain certifications which you, Rana, you would have to join some academy like CISP. If you want to do CISPs, then you would have to join an academy and do the certification from there. If anyone wants to add something, then please feel free to add anything. I'll go to the next question. This is just a comment. Dr. Shahid, one of your fans is there. So this is okay. Oh my God! I missed the question.
Achha, yeah. Saad Sahib, all blessings is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man, I'm also a learner, and we are learning from you people, man. Yeah.
Okay, I think Katie, this or anyone wants to answer this, please.
Sure. So how do we differentiate between positive and negative people as you progress and how to deal with it? So I think you have to be very resilient as an entrepreneur. This is probably one of the major differences between doing a business from scratch versus working in an established business or working for someone else. Because there are always going to be people that are going to say to you, it's never going to work. Or there are always going to be people that are going to, try and sow that seed of doubt because they themselves are not, they don't have any commitment to this idea. So if you really believe in your idea and you've taken a measured view, as Dr. Shahid said, take a measured view of what you're prepared to lose, really, I think you have to develop that toughness to progress despite all of these people. And I loved what you said earlier on, Dr. Shahid, around that the entrepreneur is closer to Allah. It's a beautiful saying, and I think that I think there's a degree of tawakkul that you have to have if you're gonna be doing this to hopefully see you through dealing with those negative people.
Okay, Dr. Shahid, this is a question for you from Muhammad. If someone has enough money and skill set but does not have the entrepreneurship mindset and have intentions and he's willing to do something, what is your advice? Do it.
My dear boy. Yes, exactly. Just do it and do it with as less as possible. Because when you have more money, we have the tendency to overspend. So you need to spend some time with a Maiman, or you need to do it in a most resource parsimonious way, and try to use as less as possible to do small experiments. And we call it intelligent fast failure, IFF, intelligent fast failure. Like if you have $10,000, just only work with $100. Try to do small things.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Shahid, if you can have your video in the middle of the screen, please, of the picture. Okay. Katie, this is a question for you.
What makes entrepreneurs successful, skill or luck? I think it's probably better to be lucky. It's a hard question. I think honestly, I think it's a combination of both. I think many people are successful and are not necessarily that skillful, and there are many skillful people that are not materially successful. I think that you really need to define what you mean by success. And if we say that success is really a function of your intention, then if you're doing things for the right intention, then you will always be successful. If you talk about material success and making money, I think that's Allah gives this dunya to whoever He chooses, and you don't know who that's going to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the best of people get this dunya.
Okay.
Very good articulation.
No doubt.
I think it's a mix. Abu Fatma, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. You just make the effort and I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to unfold it for you. So I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do something. He wants us to move and to do something and then keep on begging from Him, I think.
No.
So I think it's a combination. Yeah.
If you can, Dr. Shahid, please answer this question as well.
What's the first thing I can do as a 15-year-old, mashallah, my dear brother? I think the first thing is to look at who you are. Try to understand who you are, what you know, and whom you know, and you will find that we don't know ourselves actually. Even Kirk-Dale, when after these exercises, every day we keep on discovering. Oh wow, I never knew that about myself. So we know very less. Our education system has not helped us learn who we are. So I think we should try to learn who we are. And where there are various exercises, there we have a YouTube channel. You can see all these videos for free. That is the DSQ School of Entrepreneurship channel is there. There are a lot of videos available, and there are many other people who are working. So try to travel, try to find out your hobbies and passion, and inshallah, at the age of 15. You will, inshallah. And the more you understand yourself, the more you find similar good friends, having an entrepreneurial mindset. Inshallah, you will find something happening around.
Inshallah. KD, this is a question for you. How do you see the difference in terms of innovation between entrepreneurship by necessity and entrepreneurship by choice?
Oh, that's interesting. I think this again touches on the resource constraints that I think Dr. Shahid talked about earlier. I remember. I think there was an article I read once on two doctors that had come up with a treatment for jaundice in babies. One was in the U.S. And I think the other was in Africa, East Africa somewhere, and both treatments basically helped help treat these babies that had jaundice. One costs $150, one costs $3. So depending upon your circumstance and the constraints that you have, often having fewer resources can get you to a more efficient solution. And you tend to use whatever resources you have. So if you have a ton of resources, perhaps you'd be tempted to use them where they're not really necessary. Necessity perhaps forces you to be more focused on fewer resources.
Okay, I hope the answer is, inshallah, the questioner has his answer. And the second last question, Dr. Shahid, to you is that it has been seen that at least in the beginning, the entrepreneurs, obviously, they have a lot of pressure with regards to making it work in the business world. So there's a lot of pressure on the family. There might be resource constraints, wealth constraints, etc. So what is your advice if it comes to a situation where the person is unable to give time to the family, or maybe there is a possibility that he's finding it difficult to make ends meet in the beginning?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So once again, we say that we should always go for a calculated risk. And whenever you go, proceed with an affordable loss. Don't take, if you don't have enough money, then go for a job. Try to find out, go for savings. And you see, one of our friend, his son-in-law came from UK. He had a master's in accounting. He was looking for a job. He had spent around like 30,000 pounds for his master's degree. And when he came back to Pakistan, Kirk-Dale, after his MSc accounting, he couldn't find a job of $400 a month. So you see, spending 30,000 pounds. Look at the return on investment. So his father had a hotel, and he didn't want to help him directly. So his daughter and the son-in-law, both of them, they took like 10,000 rupees. They purchased potatoes. They made we call that buns, aloo bun. They took potatoes and they made a sandwich, and with the help of their uncle, they got a small shop on rent, and they got a card, they got light bulbs, they lighted that place very well, and he himself was the cook. So he brought down the cost. He didn't hire that many people. He himself was cooking, and the shop was near to his house. He could wave hi, hello to his wife across the street. So he was able to give time to his wife during the breaks. So he ensured that everything was within affordable laws. He could afford that. His family time, so within 1 month, Abu Fatima break even took place.
MashaAllah.
And he has 3, 4 branches, and he's making $4,000, $5,000 a month. So before COVID. So you see, in MSc Accounting and Finance, when he opens a cart of sandwiches and buns in a wise way, so you have to engage your wife, and his wife does the R&D for him. She keeps on doing experiments in the kitchen, chutney and masalas and all those things. So engage them. They have to be our partners. If they become our partners, hopefully, the anxieties will come down.
Okay, now,
And
Dr. Shahid, the question is, sorry to actually interject there, but the question is that, it's obviously very wise to involve the family, because that's a free, as they say, that's a free employee. It's a free labor. You're obviously getting anyone from outside. But at times what happens is that, for example, if the kids, they are busy, let's say, in their education, but you have certain ideas, but you don't have the resources to hire from outside, and you've got to make a decision whether you want to involve your family, your kids, in that business venture, or what do you do, Yani? There might be a sacrifice of education here.
Yeah, I think now we need to understand things are changing very fast. There are many options. You can hire somebody on a variable salary. You can say, hey, gentlemen, I can't pay you, but whatever you make, I can give you 10% of the sales. So you see, that can be another option. And regarding your own kids, we need to understand that things are changing. Even in the US, there's a school called Flatiron School. You know what they said? Flatiron School is in New York, and the owner is an Harvard graduate, and there is a Muslim gentleman from Morocco. You know what they say? They said, hey, gentlemen, you teach computer science in 4 years? We don't believe in this. We'll do this in 10 months. So they offer a course for $15,000. They teach the basics to anybody who has the aptitude. In 4 months, they equip them with SQL and Java and certain things, and they make them go through, freelancing and mini projects. And after 10 months, they say, if you're not able to make $5,000, you can get your money back. So this sort of things are coming. So the traditional O-level, A-level universities, colleges, they are going to, you see, the latest article. I was at Harvard in 2018 for a $10,000 course, and the article which they gave me, it was bulldoze down these business schools. It was not given to me by anybody. It was given by HBS faculty. Bulldoze down these business schools, because these business schools are creating people who are dependent upon crutches. They can't do anything without a resource. They need a building, equipment, laptop, people, then they will do something. Entrepreneurship is all the way the other way around. Create something out of the least amount of resources. That mindset needs a major. You see, this effectuation theory, she has, made a big jolt to these business schools. They are in trouble, I tell you. These universities are, NAFE is going to hit them. On the NAFE, companies like NAFE are going to blow these universities into trouble.
They already are, in fact. They already are.
You have to change. Teachers have to change. PhDs have to change. Parents have to understand. So that's why we recommend that mothers and parents, they look at our videos and things, so they understand that grades, the times of numbers and grades and A grades is over now.
No doubt, no doubt. In fact,
It's over.
It's over. It's over. Katie, any final comments from your side before we, inshallah, wrap it up?
No, I'd like to give my thanks, if you don't mind, to Dr. Shahid. Jazakallah khair. Some really insightful comments. Thank you very much. Nothing from me.
We're just learning from these young people. Class, we had a kids entrepreneurship program, and class 2, 3, 4 people were in our program, and they asked so tough questions. Even the director of IBA, the president, we invited him and he was stuck. Oh my God, what is there? So you see, these kids are organic. And I show them a beaver's video in our course, Abu Fatima. A beaver and Mrs. Beaver, along with their kids, they make a 300-acre dam without asking for IMF funding and World Bank funding, and without doing engineering degree in structural engineering. And you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Antum takhluqunahu am nahnul khaliqun. Antum tazra'unahu am nahnu zari'un. You see, we need a, Alhamdulillah, we were able to tell this idea to our American friends. We said, please add these two things: sense of purpose and sense of wonder to entrepreneurship theory. Without that, entrepreneurship is selfishness. What will happen if everybody in this world makes $5,000? Will the problems will be solved? No, we will become more selfish. So we need to be a believer, faith-based entrepreneurship. And you know, in our Academy of Management is going on right now. Academy of Management, the highest forum. We have a special division now, religiosity and spirituality in entrepreneurship.
MashaAllah. Excellent.
Wow, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So thank you very much. The last verse which I quote, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Amazing verses. You just do taqwa. I will open opportunities for you. I will make things easy for you. You just trust me. I will be enough for you. So, you know, one professor in US, you know what he says? Abu Fatima, he says, I think there should be a master's degree in humility. There should be a master's degree in gratitude, in compassion. Accounting तो ये सीख ही लेंगे यार, ये सीख लेंगे. There's no problem. They will learn accounting. They should learn gratitude. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept that. Thank you so much.
Ameen, ameen. Jazakumullah khair once again, Dr. Shahid. May Allah reward you for your time, for your very insightful comments. MashaAllah. Katie, Jazakumullah khair for you being here, inshallah. And apologies, Dr. Zeeshan, if you're still there. Unfortunately, we missed you a great deal. But, be ready for the 24th, Dr. Zeeshan. We are going to get you again. Make sure that your connection works. So inshallah, Jazakumullah khair to the audience for very good questions. I think we had a good kind of question bank today from the audience as well. And as we always say, that the best of us are those who actually try the most and who have this trust, have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in whatever field they are trying to adopt, whatever educational career they want to go into. At the end of the day, work hard, but have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the highest. So this is from where we end, but just to let you know about next week's show as well. So next week, inshallah, we are going to be having a female panel. So we are going to be having entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, mashallah, which actually will be an eye-opening session for our sisters, inshallah. Because as Dr. Shahid and Katie have been mentioning today, what is the role of women, sisters, families, etc. in this kind of subject of entrepreneurship? And inshallah, next week we'll be able to shed a lot more light. So see you next week, 16th of August, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.